Hey, what is going on, fam? Lecky coming at you on a Monday, February 12th, 2024. How you doing? Hopefully you can hear me. I always love to look at some of the comments, making sure all of our technology is firing because we're trying this on multiple platforms today from X, aka the old Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So, of course, the whole gist of this little live chat, so many people in northeastern and central Pennsylvania, everybody is buzzing about the winter weather, winter storm Lorraine. So we wanted to get the lowdown because apparently this storm is like changing like all the time. Some people are saying we're going to get a whole lot of snow and others are like, I don't know. So I was like, let's bring in my boy, a lot of somebody here in Pennsylvania, the one and only meteorologist John Hickey in the house. What is up, my brother?
Hey, what's up, Ryan? Good to be with you here on a Monday post Super Bowl. And my understanding is you even stayed up past your bedtime to watch the sports balls.
Go sports. I will say I actually checked out before halftime, and we'll come back to unpack that because I want to hear everybody's opinion on the halftime show. So I watched the halftime show this morning at like 4 a.m. back on YouTube, right? But we want to look at people's questions, comments. Some folks are chiming in right now. So Winter Storm Lorraine. I mean, John, you do what you do best as the meteorologist guru. Like, tell us, where is it coming from? What can we expect in northeastern and central Pennsylvania, and how long is this going to all hit us?
Sure. So I actually thought I had this thing kind of figured out here this morning, Ryan. And then literally moments before coming on with you, I'm starting to see some signs of even more changes. And if you're not a fan of snow, you may like some of these changes. So let's throw up map one, because this is just kind of the overview of where the storm is. And it's starting to take shape down across, let's say, Arkansas and Missouri. So this is the map that I was going to show you. This was the map that I was going to say, all right, I've got it figured out. This is how much snow we're going to get, right? Show the other snow map here. You should see one that's got like much less snow. I had it labeled as map 5 when I sent it over to you. One more, I think. Should be one more in there. So that's map 5. That's the wind gust. There should be another map in there that's got some snowfall to it. Maybe it never made it. There we go. Look at this change. Okay, look at how significant of a change this is from what I was thinking like an hour or two ago to what some of the latest models are showing now. That 0.8, I know it's hard to read. That is literally less than an inch of snow now for the Scranton area. And this thing may have very well become a Philly special, maybe up to 9-10 inches of snow down through Philly and over to New York City, places that is less than 24 hours ago, we were thinking not much at all. This thing could have changed literally this much, where Schuylkill County, Carbon County, Monroe County, the elevations there are still thinking 6, 7, 8 inches of snow. But you go 10 miles, 15 miles north of that, you may find nary a flake. Okay, so this may be the latest changes that we're thinking, pulling these totals way, way back. Let's show you that map that had some colors on it there and I was pointing out like where the jet stream flow is and stuff. I think it's the first map that we showed at the very start of this thing. And I want to kind of explain why we're finding so much change. One more map. That was the snowfall map. There you go. So this jet stream, that feature that have gotten that little box up there in the north over central Canada, has been the key feature to what this storm is going to do all along. It's been all about the timing with this. You know, as little as 24 hours ago, Ryan, it was looking like this thing was basically going to it was going to be like a little seesaw action. So it was looking like that was going to kind of come to the south, kind of on the backside, and push our storm system, that Monday night system that I've got with the little arrow. It was going to help to lift that farther to the north. And that was going to introduce more warm air and higher snowfall totals further to the north. But now here we are, day of the big change. That thing may act as more of like a kind of like a block, like the Super Bowl, those offensive linemen helping to keep the defensive lineman away from the quarterback. Well, in this case, that offensive lineman is going to be helping to keep our storm way a little bit more. thus pulling these snowfall totals further down. So I made the snowfall map. I spent like a half an hour just drawing the map itself. And now I think I'm going to fire that thing right in the garbage. This is looking more like a southern tier of not only Pennsylvania down through Philly, where they're maybe looking at some heftier snowfall totals. Lehigh Valley, some pretty hefty snowfall totals. Then you get to Schuylkill, Carbon, and Monroe, around a half a foot of snow. And, for our valley cities, this may very well be looking more and more like a dud. And literally, it's all about this last minute change that we're seeing with this system. So I know the snowfall maps have been all over the place with this thing. High jackpot totals over a foot in the valley. Jackpot totals over a foot up to the northern tier, which is what I had yesterday. And now we've seen this shift of more than 50 to 75 miles even in such short time. This thing is changing, as I mentioned off the top, literally by the minute here, Ryan, and is frustrating as an end user, as people who are trying to make plans. Frustrating as a meteorologist. I wish I could have had this thing pegged a week in advance.
I know. And and John, everybody, not to cut you off, everyone's asking those questions. Everyone's like, well, I heard this for Frackville. What about Wilkes-Barre? And we can always drill down. I just wanted to recap, by the way, because some more people just hopped on. And if you're just jumping on this Monday, February 12th, thanks for hanging out with myself and the one and only meteorologist, John Hickey. We're diving into this topic that so many people are buzzing about. It's not the Super Bowl today. We're going to come back to the halftime show because I got to get John's thoughts on that. But we're diving into Winter Storm Lorraine, right? So many people talking about what's hitting northeastern and central Pennsylvania, what's coming to Philly, what's it going to look like. We're doing this on multiple platforms. So we wanted to take some of your questions as well. So I think, though, John, if you give us like the quick elevator speech for people who just hopped on and they hear about this storm, ultimately, if you live in northeastern and central Pennsylvania, it's sort of like not all towns are going to be created equally when it comes to the snow dump.
Yeah, no, not at all. And in fact, we may even have to use snow dump and not so literally. I mean, for some people, you might not find much at all out in like Williamsport to Lock Haven to Selinsgrove, an inch or two, maybe 3 inches of snow. You got to get down to Schuylkill, Carbon, Monroe counties where that's maybe where we're finding more of those, 4 to 6, 4 to 8 inch kind of totals. And then southward from there in the Lehigh Valley is maybe where we're going to find some of the heavier snows. Again, this is literally changing by the minute. I made a map. I was getting ready to say, all right, 4 inches of snow through the valley cities. And now it's like, are we even going to find an inch or two? There are some big last minute changes coming in with this system that have this meteorologist sweating it out a little bit. And it's funny, Ryan, the job of the meteorologist is to convey uncertainty with certainty. Well, there's a big difference between getting 8 inches of snow and like an inch. This is a tough one. And I think the bottom line is the further south you go, the more likely it is that you're going to find more snow. The farther north that you go, you're going to have to just kind of bear with it. Be ready to be shoveling 6 inches of snow. Be ready to not even need a broom tomorrow.
Yeah. So, John, for people who hopped on a little bit late, who will start seeing the first flakes fly?
Sure. Central Susquehanna Valley tonight, 11 midnight-ish, somewhere in that window. Probably gets into the valley cities somewhere between about, let's say, 1 and 4 in the morning. And, if we do end up realizing some of those heavier snowfall totals, and I think no matter what, it's the morning commute tomorrow that's hardest hit. Okay, so the commute tomorrow, particularly the further south that you go, going down 476, going down 81. Okay, you're getting down into Schuylkill, Carbon, Monroe counties. Morning commute tomorrow still looks rough. Whether you're talking a few inches or that, up to a foot of snow that we were thinking maybe not that long ago. Either way, roads are slippery. Schools are probably virtual, delayed, closed, all that stuff. So tomorrow morning commute-wise, further south, worse off. The further north that you go, wake up a little early, look out the window kind of a situation. I hate to say it. And you're like, oh, the only job you could be, paid to be wrong. Right now, I'm not even getting paid to do this. But, it's literally that tricky with this storm. This is a really, really play-by-play kind of storm that we're going through with here for tonight, tomorrow.
I'm glad you pointed that out. You're doing this as a friend. We're not paying you squat.
$0, 0.00. I am not.
But it was funny because some people I even saw today at the gym, they're like, yo, what's Hickey saying about this storm? I'm like, I'm gonna text my brother. Like, give me a minute, right? And John, we'll come back to this. People are asking great questions. What's going on, Nancy, Noel, everybody who's hopping on? We love seeing people. I'm like, why isn't everybody at work right now? What's going on? Everybody's on Facebook. I'm just razzing you. We don't judge. We're not going to tell your boss. It's all good. And I'll pull up some of those comments. So really quick though, let's talk about, because when I jumped on, people are like, "Oh, what are you buzzing about? This big topic today." Besides the winter weather, everybody is still talking about the Super Bowl from last night. So I want to curious about your take. Like, did you watch the whole game? Did you watch up until halftime? Give me the tea. What did you think?
Yeah, so watched the game through and through. Super stoked about the halftime show. That was like the millennial dream right there, to have Usher coming out, busting a move. Dude still has it. I thought it was a really interesting show. I was all about it. I think every halftime show though, there's always the it was so lame. And then there were people who were like super stoked about it. I don't know. I was in the camp of I was super stoked about it. I loved it. The end result though, I've had enough of the Chiefs winning Super Bowls. Give me the San Francisco 49ers to win that one. But ultimately, head coach made some bad calls there late in the game, I thought. And you end up with what you got. You get Kelsey and T Swift, going off into the sunset there after the game. How about it?
I know. And look, here's the one thing I have to say. I know so many people were like triggered about how much coverage Taylor Swift got like leading up to the Super Bowl. I mean, when you look at the data and the research and the ratings from television standpoint, right? And the amount of money, I think I even saw statistics in the past few months, like she brought in like $300 million with the Chiefs and games and everything else. But Adele, the singer, said it best. She like unloaded on everybody on Saturday. I don't know if anyone saw this on social media, and she's like, let Taylor alone and let her go to that game and cheer for her boyfriend. So get off of Taylor's back.
How about that? And how about you? I thought some of the beauty companies ended up springing for Super Bowl ads there late in the game based on more women watching the Super Bowl. So brands like Neutrogena, et cetera, were like, oh, well, we got more eyeballs watching this now because Taylor's there. Let's try to pump out some product while we're at it. So it's mutually beneficial really for everybody out of this. It really feels like to me.
Yeah, and the other thing I had to dive into, you mentioned Usher, right? I thought his Super Bowl performance, because look, no matter if you just have people who are into rock and roll or if you have hip hop artists, I thought his performance was killer, but I'm not going to lie. It was a throwback to my high school days when Ludacris and Lil Jon came out. And I did say I watched the halftime show this morning because I went to bed early. I'm like still checking out by like 7:45. I was blown away. And when they got on roller skates on the stage and everything, and Usher, I mean, how old is Usher now? Do we know? Like 40s?
He's got to be.
Yeah, he looked incredible.
He looks great. Yeah. And the thing with the skates, too, is it's like, okay, it's impressive that anyone can be on roller skates and do any of that. But then to have guys like Usher doing it, I mean, maybe he was like a great roller skater as a kid. I have no idea. But then you get him on the skate, and he's doing some of the same stuff some of like the pros are out there, and like the grid on the stage that he was on. That was a really killer show. I think that's going to be really hard to top, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a great show. And I think, I mean, to see Usher, then Alicia Keys, some of the other artists who perform, I thought it was a killer show. It was great. What was interesting were all the memes that came out of it. I don't know if you saw a lot of the memes today where people were like, caption this, and it's like Taylor like biting her nails at the game. And then there was a meme that was circulating. I guess one of the dancers is part of the Usher show. Now, don't quote me on this. They were doing all this different type of acrobatic stuff, and this girl was like on a pole and she fell, and everyone's like, is she alive today? So I don't know if you caught that. There was a lot of weird stuff behind the scenes, but this is why I love the internet and I love people, because I never would have got all of that until you start looking at all the memes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that myself. Yeah, there was something like at the very beginning of it. I saw someone go like launching across, and I was like, I mean, that's cool, but what happened?
Yeah, shout out to Kevin J. He actually just said, yes, I saw the dancer fall down the pole. So it wasn't just me. Like, people are buzzing about this. I was dying. Hey, thanks, Ann Morgan. She said, great to see John and Ryan together. Bethy, shout out to your little one who's watching this right now. So thanks so much. So just to recap, I'm going to divert from the Super Bowl activity, right? And by the way, today's like the Great American Sick Out. It's like the Super Bowl flu. I noticed today at my gym, like the 5 a.m. squad, I was the squad today. Nobody to be found. No one showed up to the gym. I was like, did everyone stay up till late? And John, you would love this. I told my team here at Ryan Lecky Media, I was like, y'all can come in late. They came in at 9:30, right? And then Eric, who's helping the man stuff, he's like, oh, that early? I'm like, how long do you stay up after the Super Bowl? Like, how long do you need, right?
especially if it's not your team. I mean, he's a Rams guy. I thought he would have
Yeah.
been checked out pretty soon after
And
that.
I was razzing this crew in here. I go, find me another company that's like, don't take PTO. Let me have you come in late because you might be up late watching the Super Bowl. And then I get Eric, who's like, I don't know, 9:30 is kind of early after the game.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I don't know. Yeah,
Killing
it's like,
me.
yay, Chiefs win. Click. All right, went to bed. That was me. It was like
I
game's
get it.
over. I'm out. I'm out.
All right. Well, listen, as I mentioned, I wanted to divert from the Super Bowl to Winter Storm Lorraine. So for people who hopped on late, right? You know, Josh just said, so what can we expect? I just got here. We know that happens. So if you're just jumping on, I'm hanging out with meteorologist John Hickey, a friend of mine, who we're just kind of shooting the breeze on this storm that a lot of people are buzzing about. Besides the Super Bowl, Winter Storm Lorraine in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. It's what everybody's talking about. So, John, take it from the top almost. We can look at some more of these maps you share just to think, when is it starting and how much will we get? When will it end?
Sure. So I want to get with the three maps here. So storms moving in here for tonight. It's done by noontime tomorrow. Let's start with that jet stream map first, because I think that's really important, just so people can see how this thing is setting up and then how we expect it to kind of be moving along. This is the one that's kind of got some like oranges on it, and I've got like the word jet stream on there. That's the one right there. So the jet stream system off towards the north is basically like the offensive lineman in the game last night, and it's helping to kind of push that storm system, that one label, and it's got an X in it. It's going to be holding that further to the south. Now, look, here's the thing. All along, these two features and how they interact has been absolutely critical in determining of who's going to find a heavy swath of snow. Because no doubt about it, there's going to be some folks out of this that are going to find like up to a foot of snow, maybe even a little bit more than that. But the whole interaction with it is, even as little as 24 hours ago, the thinking was, okay, it's really not going to help to push itself, but rather it actually is going to kind of act like a seesaw. It's going to come in slightly behind the storm, and it's going to help to lift it farther to the north, meaning we were going to introduce warm air, especially down through the Lehigh Valley points south, and also even into our valley cities. All right, getting some warm air, a little mixing before we go over to snow, thus leading a big heavy swath of snow over far northern Pennsylvania, up through the Endless Mountains, getting down into places like Sullivan County, up through Dew Shore, Lopez, Shunk, all kind of in a jackpot total. So I want to show you the changes. Let's start you with the map that I was going to come in with. That's the one that's got some like 8 to 14 inches of snow. That's the one right there. So this is what I was literally, so Ryan told me this morning, hey, I want to do a Facebook Live with you. Let's, jump in, talk about the totals and stuff. And I said, all right. So I was drawing up this map, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Heavy swath of snow out through the Poconos, probably 4 or 5 inches in the valley cities, lesser to the north and west. All right, I want to show you the new map that just came in from one of our kind of shorter range weather models. The change is incredible that we're seeing out of it. It's showing about like less than an inch of snow in the valleys. That's the one right there. Less than an inch of snow for the valley cities. Still looking like 6, 7 inches of snow down through the Poconos and the southern coal region there. But look at where like the big snowfall totals are now. It's like Philly out through New York City. And I know this is just one model, and I don't want to do some wild swings based over just one model, but it's getting harder and harder to ignore that it's looking more and more like that offensive lineman, that jet stream to the north, is really getting a good push here, and it's going to be pushing this thing further south, which means that places like Bloomsburg, an inch, 2, maybe 3 inches of snow, Selinsgrove, Lewisburg, a few inches of snow, maybe 3 or 4. But then you get up to the valley cities, and I mean, the gradient there is crazy. I mean, it is on a line from seeing basically nothing to a few inches of snow, at least according to this one model. And then you look up to the northern tier, a place that 24 hours ago, we were thinking a foot of snow seems like a near certainty, is now thinking, is it even going to snow? So some big changes here are still unfolding amongst our weather guidance here, and it's getting harder and harder to ignore. So here's a great question from Amanda. What's it looking like in Dalton? And what I really want everyone to do, and I know it's hard, you're like, how did you go to college, and how can you not tell me what's going to be happening in less than 24 hours? That's just literally how dynamic and how much of a change we're seeing in just real short notice with this system. So what I would tell everyone, especially north of Interstate 80, I think south of Interstate 80, you're getting something. You're getting a few inches of snow at least. I think once you go north of 80, though, I think it becomes a lot more questionable. So I'm going to tell everyone north of Interstate 80, you're going to just kind of have to hang loose, okay? Especially the farther north away that you get from Interstate 80. Those totals are going to be dropping off regardless, but they could be drastically dropping off. So we're thinking hang loose. Be ready to make some changes to your morning drive, to appointments that you might have tomorrow morning north of 80. South of it, though, it's going to be messy. It's the morning commute that's hardest hit. This is coming in tonight, starting around midnight, shortly thereafter. It's out of here by noon tomorrow. So it's a quick hitting, quick moving storm. It's just how much of a hit is your backyard going to find? I would tell you the further south that you go, the harder the hit. The farther north that you go, you might just duck even a small jab.
All right, and here's the $1 million question. If you can see this one from Sherry, I believe. Can it change again? And you said, yeah, it's like still changing, right?
It's still changing, but what I would say is if it's going to change from here on out, it's going to be even more and more south. At this point, it doesn't look like it's going to start going back to the north. The reason being is it's starting to become more clear that that northern stream kind of block is having more influence, helping to shove this even more to the south. And it doesn't look like there's a chance for that to go back now that the quote unquote players are on the field. So it looks like, if anything, it goes more further south, back towards the north. So Dallas back mountain jackpot? Absolutely not, Adam. It does not look like that is going to be the case now. Again, hang loose. It's up to several inches of snow, but it could very well end up being like and dusting is kind of how that's looking right now. So yeah, I know yesterday it was like, all right, back mountain, northern tier, endless mountains. Yep, hard hitting jackpot storm, up to a foot of snow possible. And now it's like, ooh, big changes. That northern block is going to be having the hardest, more influence. So to Sherry, Schuylkill County, all right. So you're looking at at least several inches of snow, at least 4, 5, or 6. However, if that far enough northern trend can hang in there, it's a foot of snow, or even a little bit more than that, especially over the mountaintops there. So Schuylkill County, Monroe County, Carbon counties, you're still in line to see some messy morning commute impacts. But the farther north that you get of 80, that chance for more impact seems to be going down. So Pottsville for Crystal, that's in Schuylkill County. You're still in line to have a messy Tuesday morning. Now it's just a matter of, are you shoveling 4 inches of snow, or are you getting the snowblower ready for about a foot? And I know we're less than 24 hours. How can we possibly still have this much variability? This is science. This is what happens sometimes with these real dynamic systems. So less snow for the Poconos. If it keeps going further south, I mean, it's kind of a bummer. I mean, the ski areas could really use it. I mean, we've just come off of, a mild stretch, 50-degree temperatures, sunshine. So the slopes are in great condition right now. Weekend, a lot of skiers out there having a great time, riders too. We could use a decent snowfall. So I guess if there's good news out of this system for skiers and riders, this is the pattern change tip. This is kind of the impetus of that pattern change. So whether the mountains get dumped or just a little bit, or maybe in the case of Elk Mountain, not much at all, this is all the sign of the pattern change to come. So we're losing those 50-degree spring-like days, and we're going into a more winter-like pattern. So at least the areas are going to have colder temperatures to work with to make snow at night. It'd be nice if they could get this dump of snow, but even if they don't, they're going to be able to start making it again. Critical time too, President's Day weekend, the last of the big 3 money-making weekends of the year for ski areas.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, in case people see me glancing off, I'm trying to populate a lot of these comments. And John, you've done an amazing job answering them. And as I mentioned when we started, so we're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, and yeah, as I mentioned, X. And by the way, I got this comment from X. Check it out. My friend Bill Hetler, he said, good to see you on Twitter, Ryan. A little cold here in LA. Like, I wish Bill would chime in and be like, what's cold in LA? And I got to give this guy a shout out. Bill Hetler is one of the most talented editors, production gurus I've ever met. The dude's awesome. I worked with him on some projects. He's based in LA. But I'm curious, like, what's LA like versus northeastern Pennsylvania? It's funny because my mom used to live in West Palm Beach, right? They'd be like, oh my gosh, it's freezing today. It'd be like low 70s. And I'm like, we really feel for you up here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I will shed a single tear and play the smallest violin for you.
Yeah, and I got to say, too, I don't know if Bill's going to chime back in, but thanks, Nancy. She said, thanks, Lecky and John. And John, I'm sure, as I anticipated, by the way, that when we started doing this and you pop back up on people's radar, right? Like the $1,000,000 question for people who didn't see your, I'll just say, you've kind of explained yourself 1,000 times. Someone just asking, I'm trying to find the comment, why don't I see you on TV anymore? I mean, you started a new chapter in your life.
Yeah, so started doing something new, and yeah, so I left that employer back in late October.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been off of the telly here for a while, and kind of onto some different things right now. So it's an exciting time for me. Obviously, exploring maybe some different areas of my skill set that aren't television based. So there's certainly a lot of different ways to attack the world of weather. And while the television meteorologist is probably the one you're most familiar with, there's a lot of other ways to get involved. That's for sure.
Got it. All right. So, Lisa, we answered your question. And there's my friend from LA. He's just like, LOL. I'm sure he's probably like in a tank top today in Los Angeles. And oh, wait, he said 39 was the low. My blood is thin. Get out of here. It'll probably be like in the mid 70s later, but I love you, Bill. And I appreciate you chiming in on X. And John, you mentioned ski conditions. I know you're a big skier. So Abigail asked about snow at Montage. I mean, how do you think, because remember last week we had temperatures like I feel like it was like low 50s. How has that impacted like the snowpack and where things are heading with this storm? Because you're a ski guru who hits a lot of slopes in the area. Like, how do you think this is going to change like the trek down the mountain?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, going from warm to cold on the surface is not great. It certainly firms up the snow, and it'll be a little bit on the. I don't want to take money out of mountains' pockets, but it'll be a little slick out there. We'll just leave it at that. But obviously, some fresh snow would be a big help. And this is again the impetus, the pattern-changing storm. So even if the mountains don't get dumped on it, although I do think areas like Jack Frost, Big Boulder, Shawnee, Camelback, Blue, you're still getting several inches of snow out of this, even with this more southern push. But this is, again, the pattern-changing storm. So now instead of those 50s, we're going to enter a colder temperature pattern. That's going to allow the mountains to make snow night after night after night, even during some of these days coming up here, too, this week. And this is really critical. We're coming up on President's Day weekend, the big 3 ski weekends of the year. You have the Christmas break, Martin Luther King Jr. weekend holiday, and President's Day weekend. Those are the big 3 for our area resorts and area resorts all across the country. So to be able to get some cold weather, allow them to really freshen up the snowpack for a week leading up to it, it's going to be great conditions out there on the slopes this weekend. And I'm sure the slopes will be packed. They'll be packed tomorrow when we get some snow. They'll be packed again coming up for the long holiday weekend that's on the horizon here.
I love it. And Dominique said, time to ski. Yes. Shout out to you. Hey, anything else, by the way, that you want to add before, I'll let you go back to doing your thing. I mean, I appreciate your time as always. Thanks to Heather as well, saying good to see you both. We always love hanging out with you. We talked Super Bowl if you missed it. John and I thought the halftime show was great. I told you, it took me back to like high school, especially when Ludacris and Lil Jon came out. When he popped out of the crowd, I like lost it.
Oh yeah, Luda popped up and I'm like, yo, that's my jam. I'm back. It's like 06. I'm going through the hallways of my high school, and that like jam is bumping on someone's boombox that they brought in. The CD's in there. They're walking down the hallway. I'm like, yeah, all right, I can get on board with this. That was awesome. I thought it was a great show, and yeah, especially the ending there when some of the old time favorites were popping up. I was digging it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I loved it. Hey, John, obviously we talked a lot about snow, but a great question from Josh. A lot of people in our area love ice fishing. Do you think any chance we're going to get a big freeze? Because we've been in this weird flux. I feel like it'll be cold, right? And then sometimes I feel like it hits mid 50s.
Yeah, and obviously that's dangerous for ice fishing. It doesn't give you that good clear ice that you need, thick enough to make it safe to get out there. Maybe across, the real hinterlands of farther northern, like Wayne County, maybe Susquehanna County too. There have been a couple of opportunities, but what I would say is we're getting into kind of a more dangerous time of year because, the sun angle is noticeably getting higher in the sky. The way that you notice that the daylight hours are getting longer, right? So it was getting dark like before 5, and now it's like I was out on a walk last night and there's still like some light on the horizon at 6. So even as the temperatures are starting to get colder, and that is going to help to start building some ice for us, now that the sun angle gets up, even if it's only like 40 during the day, once that sun gets higher up in the sky, it actually makes the ice less safe. So if there's going to be an opportunity to do it, it's going to have to be in the next like 2 weeks. And then after that, it starts getting sketchy, because if you don't already have that good ice buildup, it won't be that good, clear, hard ice that's safe to get on once that sun angle starts to get higher up in the sky. So, again, next couple of weeks would be the chance for it. But again, you always have to be super safe. You're making sure you're putting in your holes in the ice first, seeing what that ice depth is. Is it good, clear ice? Is it not? If it's that cloudy stuff, you got to be real safe when you're going out in the quote unquote hard water. That's for sure.
Yeah, little question from Lisa there. I know you touched on some of this stuff earlier. She's worried about, I think, her 80-year-old mom in Berks County. Quick recap of that area.
Yeah, so for that area, it's looking like they may now be taking more of the brunt of this storm if we're believing some of the latest data that's coming in. I mean, look, we were thinking as little as 24 hours ago, this was a northern tier, endless mountains, harder hitting storm. Now, this is the latest data that's coming in, a significant shift to the south. Last night this has started, and it was funny. I was seeing comments like, now the Valley Cities, now we're getting our foot. And it's like, well, the trend cannot be your friend too. And the trend has continued here in the data today. And now it's looking more like places like the Lehigh Valley could be looking at some of the higher totals, maybe 6 to 12 inches of snow down there for them. And now this is looking more like Schuylkill, Carbon, Monroe for the northeastern Pennsylvania area, getting in on some of the more significant snows. But once you get north of 80, you can see the numbers dropping off more and more. I know this map is not the greatest, because I had this whole other map. It was all drawn, and then literally 10 minutes before I came on, big changes, not enough time to draw an entirely different map. So just know, north of 80, it gets more sketchy with that snow tomorrow. South of 80, it's more of a sure bet. And then the farther south that you go, the higher the totals are going to be. This is like a Philly to New York City special. And this is developed literally within 24 hours, this kind of significant shift. Think about that. Think about if in any job, right? You're looking at, like a forecast, or you're looking at, whatever it might be. And it's like, all right, this is the equivalent, Ryan, of like, you look at Google Maps, or you look at your Apple Maps or whatever, and it's like, okay, I'm driving from point A to point B, and this is the route. And then you look at that yesterday, and you'd wake up the next day thinking, oh, that's how I get from point A to point B. And then now you wake up today and you just punch it in, because now it's time to go, and it's telling you to go this entirely different direction. That is the equivalent of what we're seeing in the data here in just the last really 6 hours. This is how quickly this is beginning to change.
Yeah, and I have to say, if people are curious, because John did touch on Wilkes-Barre and some other places, because I'm going to let the guy go, just kind of rewind this video, I should say. Oh, my God, I sound like my grandma. I'm like, get the VCR remote and hit rewind. Oh, my gosh. And I love this question, too. Leah Ross said, yes. So, Leah, John just tackled it. He moved onto professional career opportunities elsewhere, so he does no longer do television news anymore. And what am I doing? I thought that secret was out like 2 years ago. I have Ryan Hickey Media, so we're a full-service marketing agency. I like to say we're the Swiss Army knife of marketing agencies. We also have a full production team in-house, so we produce commercials for streaming, broadcast, cable. We do really cool brand kits, graphic design work, social media management, social media content creation. We build websites, you name it. But I always say when you hire me, you get the team. I have a team of 11 rock stars, some who are in-house here where we are in Lackawanna County, and others are remote. I love this crew, by the way. Hey, can you guys just pop over here really quick? Just give the peeps a wave real fast. They're like ready to kill me, by the way. And John, I'm coming back to you in a hot second, but I had to give some love because this team sets up the lighting and everything and they kill it. So this is my girl, Grace. Just say hi, Grace. Grace, we're looking right at that camera. There we go. We got Grace. We have Jordan over here. That's our art director. This is Jill, another content producer like Grace. We got Matt West in the house, and Eric Granahan is over here kind of manning everything. And Eric, by the way, some of you knew he was actually my morning photographer when I worked at WNEP TV for years. And he's like the younger brother I never had. There's Matt. He's over over here. He's shooting. They're constantly working. So hopefully that answers your question, Leah, because people are like, what are you up to? And you can learn more about us. If you know of any small business owners, we'd love to help support business owners in this area, small, big corporations, RyanLeckyMedia.com. So I really appreciate that. And by the way, John, I do have to give a little shameless plug because people are like beat down from the winter weather, right? The skies are sometimes gray and gloomy. And we recently just cut a travel vlog. I partnered with my friends at AAA North Penn, and they are in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. And literally, I want people to know this if you're watching it. And you're like, I want to book a vacation, but I didn't plan it months ahead. We didn't either. My partner Matt and I literally just got out of Dodge a few weeks ago. We called my friends at AAA North Penn. If you go to AAA.com/appointments, you can book an appointment in person, online, or you can book it virtually. And literally, I said, here's my budget. I just need warm weather, like 80 degrees. What can we do? They lined up this great cruise on Royal Caribbean. I said they're the kind of people they just shoot it, bag it, bring it home, and boom, we were on a ship like a week later. And let me tell you, just to get some sunshine, it was incredible. So I can't say that enough. If people are beat down, give my peeps at AAA a little call. And Tracy said, do you still run marathons? I don't. Not saying I never will again, but I got it. All right. Enough of me yapping, John, and my shameless plugs to be like, check out the travel vlog. I was really proud of my team. They did a good job cutting that. And John, I ate like I was going the electric chair every night on that cruise ship. And at one point, people leaned over to my partner Matt, and they were like hardcore cruisers. This great couple, I think they were in their 80s, and they're like to Matt, they're like, "Does Ryan literally eat like this every night?" And I was like, "Is the Pope Catholic?" Yes. The answer is yes. I was having like 3 appetizers, entrees. Go ahead. What?
No, AAA is great. You know, my wife and I, we booked our honeymoon through AAA North Penn, and we also booked a trip last summer. We were in Iceland, and they set everything up. And it's really great for people like us. You're just like busy, and you have ideas of like what it is you might like to do in a place that you want to go, but you maybe don't have like a real good preset plan.
Yeah.
And so they go,
and I don't want to think
like,
about
look,
it.
Look. Yeah, and they just like set it all up. So you just like wake up and you're like, oh, look at all this cool stuff we're going to do today. Awesome. Yeah, and it's all set up in advance. Can't recommend it enough. You think they're just for like, fixing a flat. It's not just fixing a flat. It's setting up a vacation. I didn't know that until we went on our honeymoon. I'm like, this is great.
I know. People don't realize they have a whole membership side and then the travel side. And the one thing I have to say, I love to support local people and people in our area, and to be able to work with people who live in our community. So heaven forbid, if your flight gets canceled, you can call them on their phone and be like, there's some stuff going on, because I know there's a lot of fly-by-night travel sites out there, and you got to just be careful because some people don't buy insurance. They do buy insurance for their trip, but that was my plug because I had such a great time, and I can't thank my friends at AAA North Penn enough. All right. I think we basically got it. Jessica's given us the thumbs up. Hopefully we helped, we informed. As John mentioned, the storm is like changing by the minute, right? Any final thoughts, John? Just if you had to give us a quick 1-minute recap, when does it start? Who's getting hit the hardest, and when's it end?
Sure. So this is all going to be starting tonight. Once we get closer to midnight, it's all wrapped up by noon tomorrow. The highest impacts will be throughout the morning commute tomorrow. If you're south of Interstate 80, you're the most likely to find accumulating snows getting down to Schuylkill, Carbon, Monroe counties. Best bet for like up to 6 inches or so. And then once you get northward from there, the amounts are coming way down. Again, we're seeing big changes here in the data late this morning going into the afternoon. It's starting to look at more and more like we're pushing some of that heavy snow down towards Philly, towards New York City, and outside of our valley cities. I know there's some questions. Can this still change? Of course. However, what I would say is the trend is your friend in the world of meteorology, and the trend over the last several model cycles has been further south, and that may very well continue. So valley cities, we were thinking, hey, decent hit of snow, maybe not so, if we are to believe some of this latest data that's coming in here on a Monday afternoon, Ryan.
All right. And speaking of Monday afternoon, I really appreciate you joining us today. You're the best. I texted you this morning. I'm like, John, we got to talk weather. You're like, okay, I'm down.
Yeah, I'm always good to do this kind of stuff. I like this platform too. You don't just have that 3 minutes like you do in TV land. You can have some time to expand and explain, and you can even talk about the Super Bowl halftime show. So that was a lot of fun too.
No, I love that. And for people like Judy saying, John, we miss you, follow John on his social media channels. He has a new page he launched. He's doing, just talking about the weather. John, where is the best place for people to follow you so people like Judy can get their John fix?
Sure. So on the Meta, on the Facebook, you can find me, meteorologist John Hickey. I'm putting out content just as much as I can. When you're not doing it for this area and, employed in this area, maybe not quite as on it as I like to say, but I'm still there. I'm still putting out some stuff. You can still follow along. Facebook's a great way to do it. You can find me on X, aka the old Twitter, WX Man John Hickey, and you can find me there. Also putting out some helpful content too for weather for northeastern and central Pennsylvania.
I love it. I love it. And Susan goes, I like this platform too. Daily show. We both have other work to tackle. I would love to do that. So we like to come in and support people when there's a storm of brewing, because honestly, I'll tell you too, folks, when I look at like Facebook and Twitter and other stuff, and you see so many different reports, what do? I message John Hickey. This is why he's here. John, you have such a strong science background. So I'm like, I'm not going to try to like guess. I'm like, yo, what's going to happen? I was like, John, can I leave my house tomorrow morning?
Yeah, get out there, man. No, and I appreciate that too, because you're right. There is just so much that's out there. Anyone with an internet connection can just put out whatever they want. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're not doing it for hype and likes and clicks, or that they have a real science background. So it's I like that you came to me for some helpful guidance here today, and help using your platform to help spread my weather message with you here at lunchtime. You got Ryan, you got John, you got your lunch. Maybe it's some leftovers from the Super Bowl last night. It's a good day.
Wait, did you eat? I'm just saying too, Lori, by the way, just rewind this feed. I have to let John go as far as what's up with the storm. He gave, if you just back up a few minutes before we end it, John gave you the quick rundown. But John, I'm just curious, do you have a go-to like Super Bowl snack? Like, what's your go-to last night? Did you have to say like, I got to have wings, pizza, anything?
So we did a little Ravello's par bake, okay? Because you want to support the local pizzeria, but you don't want to help slam their kitchen. So that was a good. Who our friend there, Nipa Pizza Review. I saw his.
Jim. I love Jim. He's great.
And I was like, he's awesome. I'm like, that's such a great idea. I'm like, I want to support them. We want to support them, I should say, not just me, my wife and I. It's like, yeah, let's support a local pizzeria, but like not jam up their kitchen anymore. So yeah, we did that, and then Maroni's. We got their pizza dip. And that is so good. You just put that right over the top of the Ravellos. Chef's kiss.
So good. I love that. I have to say, too, you mentioned Any Pizza Review with Jim. If you guys just look on Facebook or Instagram, Any Pizza Review, Any PA Pizza Review. Jim is a terrific guy. Met him. He was on our podcast before, but he does so much homework and production and taste testing of pizzerias all over our area and beyond. He does such a good job, and it's a great way that he has spotlighted so many smaller businesses and pizza shops you never heard of. That's why I love this area. Everybody has each other's back. So if you love pizza and you're like, where can I try next and support local? Look up NEPA Pizza Review. And there you go. Here, everybody's chiming in. Kathy said we had pizza and wings from Pizza Perfect. And wait, Maroni's pizza dip is out of this world. I've heard that before from people.
Yeah, you got to get on that if you haven't tried it yet, Ryan.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go. Everybody else, thank you so much. And really, the credit goes to John Hickey with his mad meteorologist skills to tell us what the heck is going on. It was good chatting weather and, of course, the Super Bowl. So I'll catch you soon, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on today, Ryan. Have a great afternoon.
Hey, you too, dude. And my social media fam, I love you. Thanks for logging on and spending part of your Monday with myself and Mr. John Hickey. We'll catch you next time.